Archetypes of Alchemy by Julia Yusupova. This project is based on the key text Psychology and Alchemy by Carl Jung. In this book, Jung uses hundreds of artworks from various historical texts on alchemy. Throughout the course of a few months that I've been reading this book, my archetypal eye has been able to spot resemblances between my life and events and some of this numinous symbolic imagery in the book. Some of these experiences were synchronicities and others more like memories and associations, but all of them show the wide range of archetypal capability for manifestation. Anima Mundi. On a trip to Arizona, I took this selfie of myself in a motel room near Tucson. I was intending to make fun of the lamp that was awkwardly placed on the bed's headboard, making me lean my head this way. A few minutes later, I encountered this image on social media and noticed the connecting elementary motifs to my photo, the lean of the head and the color pink. Archetypal imagery is often connected by bundles of such repeating motifs of the simplest perceptual categories like color, shape, number, and angle. In the same evening, I encountered this alchemical artwork of the Anima Mundi in Jung's book. Once again, the lean of the head and the position of the arms connected to the previous artwork. And so through these connections, the archetype of the Anima Mundi, the soul of the world, channeled through. Ouroboros. The same evening, I reached another artwork in Jung's book, that of the alchemical Ouroboros, a snake or a dragon biting its tail in a circle. In the same exact moment that I came upon this artwork, I was watching the movie How Do You Know on TV. The hilarious scene where the intoxicated Paul Judd sings romantic music to a lamp was on. The image greatly resembled the Ouroboros biting its own tail. Peacock. Earlier on the same trip through Arizona, I encountered this mural downtown Phoenix. A few days later, I would see this alchemical peacock in Jung's book. Though the peacocks are turned facing opposite ways, this can be merely considered a reflection or a rotation of the image along the vertical axis, which is a kind of simple transformation that can be witnessed in archetypal image resemblances. The other notable connection is that in the note under Jung's peacock image, he writes, "The combination of all colors, symbolizing wholeness." And the mural of the peacock also goes beyond the typical blue and green to a multicolored composition. World clock. Jung discusses this alchemical image of the world clock in his alchemy book, but its colored version is also the cover of his other book with Wolfgang Pauli, Atom and Archetype. On my way to Arizona, I encountered this floor artwork on a layover in Dallas Airport. The matching motifs are the clock, the birds, the colors light blue, red, yellow, and black. The sun. The sun symbol on a house in Tucson, and a similar-looking anthropomorphic sun from an artwork in Jung's book were encountered within 24 hours of each other, which is a typical period signifying a local spatiotemporal resemblance or synchronicity. My theory is that this temporal period is related to one rotational cycle of the Earth, and the virtual entangled field formed from all the sunlight that reaches the Earth throughout that period. The lovers. The last image of a plant from Arizona was taken because I'm not used to seeing plants such as this where I live in Canada. Within a day, the plants growing out of the heads of a king and queen in this alchemical artwork from Jung's book reminded me again of this plant. Here, the structures were actually made of many suns and moons. About another day later, I also noticed the same plant in the tarot's The Lovers card. A connection of associations, delivering various personalized messages in an archetypal manner. Mercurius. One morning, my boyfriend George sent me this pic of himself from his work site on the 76th floor of a building in downtown Toronto. The next morning, I came upon this artwork of Mercurius in Jung's book. The connecting elements are the same pose and the presence of scenery in the background. George is also a Gemini sun, which would make him ruled by the planet and god, Mercury. Jacob's Ladder. Another photo that George sent me that morning was this view from the same building. I noticed a subtle reflection of a ladder on the right side of the sky. I thought this reflection off a window created an interesting luminous effect, and these often catch my attention for their symbolism. A few days later, I found the matching artwork from Young's book, that of a painting by William Blake called Jacob's Ladder. The connecting elements are the ladder ascending into the sky and the combination of colors, blue, gray, and golden sunlight. The philosophic egg. Speaking of luminous artifacts, this was another one that showed up in a video I made while cycling through Arizona. The corresponding luminous image from the Young's book was the philosophical egg, which stands for the alchemical vessel. 2 dragons. With regards to sky imagery, it's common pareidolia for people to see spontaneous imagery in the clouds. One day recently, I saw a snake-like head and a ribbed tail in the sky above me. Considering my current fascination with alchemical imagery, I knew there would have to be some matching artwork for this. A quick search revealed this image of the 2 dragons. It seems that the sky captured only the right half of the image, however, the moon dragon's face and the sun dragon's tail. Dragon. It is common for me to also spontaneously find various symbolic objects. I found this beautiful dragon that was left on a bus seat one day. A month later, while reading Young's book and the dragon symbolism he discusses, I looked up a resonant alchemical artwork of a dragon. Note the additional connecting elements, like my nails and the claws of the dragon, and the 3 downward bubbles in the statue, matching the upward triangle in the artwork. The triangular symbolism speaks of a hermetic tenet, as above, so below. Tortoise. This alchemical artwork of a tortoise from Young's book reminded me of a turtle totem I found at the front entrance of my building a few years ago. Lotus. And this alchemical artwork of a lotus growing out of a tortoise from Young's book reminded me of a lotus symbol I found at the back entrance to my building a few months ago. This beautiful artwork also popped up the day after Young's image. Rose. This alchemical artwork of a rose from Young's book reminded me of a numinous experience from years ago, when exactly a year to the date after my Grandma Rose's passing, a single beautiful rose popped up in my mom's garden out of nowhere, where no roses had ever grown before. Bear. And this alchemical artwork of a bear from Young's book reminded me of another numinous experience from a few years ago when my boyfriend and I came across a real bear cub while traveling through Banff National Park in Alberta. Just 10 minutes prior, I spoke about wishing to see a real bear, and I was amazed at such a quick manifestation. Notice now the same position of the bear in the 2 images. Fire and water. This alchemical artwork of fire and water reminded me of a big mural on display in Toronto. Archetypes utilize our memory recall. The longer the time period between the 2 images, the more chances of this memory being personal rather than a technical synchronicity. However, might the collective unconscious still be guiding both types of experiences? Phoenix. In my most recent trip, while also reading Young's book, I had also visited Portugal. This was an image of a phoenix in the cobblestone just outside the entrance to my Airbnb. About a week after I encountered that phoenix image, I saw this resonant one in Young's book. Swan. Young discussed the phoenix and the swan both as symbols of alchemical sublimation. This was considered the final step of the alchemical process, a transformation of matter to spirit. Seeing this image reminded me of my own photo that I took years ago while kayaking Lake Ontario. The wobble of the kayak produced this photographic effect that made the swan appear as if it was spiritual, subtle, or sublimated body was visible. The swans are also facing in the same direction. Lion. In this last synchronicity, while in Portugal, I encountered this graffiti and right away had a feeling that this image was related to alchemy. Sure enough, a few days later, I came upon the alchemical image of the green lion devouring the sun in Young's book. One of the interpretations for this symbolism was the death of the ego and the rebirth of the soul in the new realm. The reason I traveled to in the first place was because my father suddenly passed away while on vacation there. I took this art to be sending me a message that my dad's physical death meant the passing of a soul to another realm. My dad was also a Leo sun, and his name, Alishur, also meant sublime lion in ancient Persian. Later that same day, my mother noticed this strange-looking cloud outside of our Airbnb's balcony. Only after seeing the lion and the cloud images side by side did I note the significance of the same curve. Perhaps yet another sign of my father's rebirth, the heavenly skies. Experiences such as these prove that art can be charged with the power of the numinous and the mystical. The action of potent archetypes extends acausally, not only through space and time, local to my reading of Carl's Jung book, but also non-locally, years back, to memories of experiences, many of which were themselves synchronistic and spiritually special. What other numinous archetypal encounters related to alchemical imagery then await me in the future? Thank you.